Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking into the games that don't get their deserved love in the greatest PS1 hits lists. Or maybe they do and they deserve even more love. Either way, we're going to do some hardcore reminiscing. Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos. IQ Intelligent Cube / Kurushi. My experience with this game was way back in 1999 when I was only 5 years old and I watched my mum, yes my mum, play this game every other day. Its balance of accessibility, fun and cool graphical atmosphere made it a smash hit for anyone lucky enough to play this challenging PS1 puzzle game. In the game, you must navigate a platform of cubes, clearing the right ones to avoid being crushed by an advancing wall of cubes. The gameplay can get intense and complex, especially for younger players, making the levels difficult to master. Criminally underrated, but beloved by those who grabbed it. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation.
And so, we breach the sanctum of the ancients, the first footfalls in this tomb for centuries.
This place gives me the creeps. After you.
As one of the final Tomb Raider games produced for the PS1, this is the longest installment on the platform and somehow the most underplayed. It offers numerous levels to complete, including a glimpse into Lara Croft's youth in Cambodia before following her adventures through Egypt. This one takes some really cool things in tone from the previous games, exploring an atmosphere that dips into horror. It's a very cool game that is stupid underrated. Space Hulk: Vengeance of the Blood Angels.
We have encountered many terrible foes. We know not what further dangers we will have to deal with. The information we recovered was encrypted.
Goofy-ass game name aside, Space Hulk: Vengeance of the Blood Angels is an impressive first-person shooter with well-executed real-time strategy elements that should be much more appreciated in the scope of games on the console. Again, I'm 95% sure it's because of the title. Based on and set in the very popular board game Warhammer 40,000's universe, players controlled Space Marines in their iconic power armor. The game was atmospheric, terrifying, and incredibly challenging, something critics disliked, calling it too difficult and complex. Today, however, it may have been received better with the popularity of Warhammer and difficult games. Galerians.
I sometimes have a frightening dream.
1999, the year of Silent Hill, Resident Evil 3, and Dino Crisis. But prepare for a wild ride with Galerians, a survival horror game that could easily be thrown into the same standard category as these similar games. Instead of traditional combat, the game emphasizes puzzle solving and strategic resource management, forcing you to think critically. Unsettling and refreshingly unique for its time, Galerians brought a surge of originality to the survival horror genre. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed by these other entries. Evil Zone. Evil Zone delivers a bold story of heroes battling an all-powerful villain trapped in the titular dimension, blending elements of fantasy and sci-fi. I know what you're thinking. It's been done. And oddly enough, you'd be right. But Evil Zone does it better than most, which is why it's so weird it hasn't received more recognition. The gameplay builds on traditional one-on-one fighting mechanics, but with a unique 3D twist that some players found difficult to adapt to, which may explain its absence on most players' top 10 lists.
Order 1 veal cooked in wine with a spicy herb garnish, and also 1 halibut, please.
Yes, sir, right away. Isn't it nice to be able to order expensive meals? I wish I could afford sumptuous meals like he can.
Tomba. Known as Tomba worldwide and Tomba in Europe, this vibrant side-scrolling platformer is packed with fun levels where you play as a wild child on a quest to recover his grandfather's bracelet from an evil race of pigs. Get your laughs out now because this game's actually fantastic. Tomba stands out with its quirky mechanics, giving it a Metroidvania-like feel. The game also allows the protagonist to move between the background and foreground at times, adding an extra layer of depth that most PS1 titles lacked. It's an original gameplay style during a year where originality wasn't at its strongest. Kula World. Let me put this out there. This is my entry, and also, shut up. Kula World is a highly underrated puzzle game where you control a beach ball in a 3D platformer environment. To clear levels, you must collect keys, fruits, and jewels to unlock bonus stages and boost your score. As you progress, the puzzles become harder and harder and harder, adding intensity to your race against the clock. The game cleverly plays with physics, allowing gravity to reverse and the ball to hang upside down. It was shockingly intricate and fun for the PS1. Parasite Eve 2. This game has become something of a cult classic, and even though it's being replayed by a new generation today, it is still considered a cult classic, as many missed out on this game initially, and for Silent Hill fans, Parasite Eve 2 is a must-play. Developed by Square in that infamous year 1999, this survival horror title embraces more traditional elements of the genre that the original lacked, and with a story penned by the writers of Resident Evil. With tank controls and an eerie vibe, this is a must-play for classic horror fans. Klonoa Door to Phantomile. Klonoa is a beautiful platformer that takes players on a whimsical journey through Phantomile. It performed okay in Japan and very poorly in America and Europe. In Australia, however, it must have done okay because we were all playing this game. You play as Klonoa, accompanied by the lovable Hupao, with plenty of charming creatures populating the world along the way. With beautiful and heartbreaking cutscenes and fun gameplay to go along with it, had Klonoa been released at a different time, it could easily have become a classic for gaming fans. Wild Arms 2. This game has one of the more dedicated cult followings we've seen on the PS1, as it appears like a copy and paste gunslinger, but offers so much more once you unpack it. Wild Arms 2 tells the story of a group of unlikely heroes bound by fate to stop a world-threatening force. Not crazy original, but it's the gameplay where things get good. The gameplay blends traditional turn-based RPG combat, puzzle solving, and exploration of a beautifully designed world. It made a notable impact on the PlayStation RPG scene and has since been awarded its cult classic title. Tale Concerto. The unique charm, imaginative world, and engaging gameplay of Tale Concerto went unnoticed by many during its release, and that was a damn shame. Combining 3D platforming with mech combat in an anime-styled setting, the game stood out for its whimsical story and lovable characters, particularly Waffle, a canine police officer. You heard me. Despite these strengths, Tale Concerto was overshadowed by more popular titles of the time, such as Final Fantasy and Crash Bandicoot, limiting its mainstream exposure.
Wow. Did you figure that out all by yourself? You say? Is that your attitude toward my life's work?
Brave Fencer Musashi.
There doth be no effect. They shall find it out whereabouts soon.
Final Fantasy and other high-profile RPGs once again dominated the spotlight in the late 90s. And Brave Fencer Musashi was overshadowed by these juggernauts, despite its engaging real-time combat, platforming mechanics, and creative world. The game's humorous tone and anime-inspired art style set it apart from the more serious RPGs of its era. But this also may have contributed to it being overlooked by players seeking the deeper RPG experiences that dominated 1997 to 1999. Over time, it has thankfully gained a cult following and been recognized as one of the PS1's hidden gems. Hogs of War.
Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, squad, halt, about, turn. reason only, and that reason is war! I said war!
No matter what, this game was going to be on this list, because I'm writing this list, and also, I'm writing this list. Turn-based strategy games were relatively uncommon on the PS1, but there were a few standout titles. Hogs of War, however, took a more comedic route than the others, featuring squads of anthropomorphic pigs battling it out, with factions loosely inspired by nations from World War I. Think Worms in 3D, years before Worms became 3D. Despite its witty writing, unique premise, and addictive turn-based party-style gameplay, Hogs of War received less critical acclaim than it deserved. It should have taken the spotlight upon release, and is such a cult classic that a community-made remake is currently in production.
Anytime.
Croc, Legend of the Gobbos. Though Croc was generally well received upon release, the gameplay was criticised for being somewhat uninspired. However, the game's undeniable charm makes it a standout. Unfortunately, it is bested by games like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. You play as the adorable Croc, armed with fun moves like a tailspin and a stomp. What's not to love? The platforming is enjoyable, and hearing Croc's signature Kasplat brings a delightful wave of PS1 nostalgia, making it a heartwarming experience despite its gameplay critiques. Alien Resurrection. Alien Resurrection underwent several transformations during its development, starting as a top-down shooter, evolving into a third-person Tomb Raider-style game, and ultimately releasing as a first-person shooter. This tumultuous development process mirrored the reception, starting out as a highly anticipated release, evolving into a shaky, stretched-out release, and ultimately releasing to minimal eyes and a mixed reception. At the time, console FPS games weren't typically designed with twin-stick controls, leading to unfair criticism. Despite this, the controls were actually well suited for a PS1 game, and Alien Resurrection remains a highly atmospheric and genuinely scary experience. Incredible Crisis. Incredible Crisis is a uniquely quirky game that follows a working-class Japanese family of 4 as they try to complete their daily tasks in time for their grandmother's birthday. Featuring action-based minigames reminiscent of WarioWare, players must successfully complete these mini-challenges to progress. With a total of 24 levels, the game includes a variety of puzzles and action tasks, such as quizzes and quick-time events. Unfortunately, PS1 players weren't looking to have experiences like this on this cooler console, leading to it being relatively unplayed, regardless of the fact that it could rival WarioWare and even Pokemon Stadium. Team Buddies.
What's all this then? Oh, look!
Team Buddies may have suffered from mixed messaging. While it presented itself as a colourful, cutesy third-person game, it was actually highly competitive and violent, leading to fights between friends and brothers, particularly my brothers. Up to 4 players could engage in split-screen gameplay across various modes, and the toy-like characters had surprisingly foul mouths. The PAL version even included a warning label to alert parents about the chaotic action hidden beneath the cute surface. I didn't let my parents see that. Future Cop LAPD. Future Cop LAPD was initially teased as Future Strike in a trailer during the closing moments of Nuclear Strike, but it was rebranded for unknown reasons. Its gameplay resembled the Strike series, so this rebranding made no sense. Did this contribute to its relatively mediocre reception? Yes, the last-minute name change, which severed its connection to the Strike series, caused serious commercial failure and killed the entire Strike series then and there. D. I have maintained that the reason this game didn't succeed is because its title has one letter. I can't seem to find anyone else claiming this, and that drives me insane. D was groundbreaking for its time in how players navigated this horror experience. Combining elements of an interactive movie and adventure game, it was packed with hidden horror aspects. To succeed, players had to complete the game in 2 hours without the option to save or pause. While it was a commercial success in Japan, it struggled to find the same reception in the Western market, probably because in Japan it was called No Shokutaku, not D.
Laura, what are you doing? Go back. Now.
Tobal 2.
Fight!
PS1 was home to many fantastic fighting games, introducing titles like Tekken to new audiences. Tobal 2 is one such game that has since faded into the background, overshadowed by heavyweights like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Soul Blade. This sequel featured 3D arenas along with a grapple and block system, and each character came equipped with a fireball. It also included a quest mode for players not interested in competitive fighting. Like many games on this list, it didn't resonate with North American audiences as much as it did in Japan, with critics feeling it fell short against established fighting titles. I'll tell you one thing, it's way better than Battle Arena Toshinden, which was included in the atrocious PS1 classic. Not totally relevant, but any chance I get to slam that console, I will take. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.